The orbital station hung above Veritas Prime like a giant metal flower. Its petals were docking bays, and its center was a massive council chamber where 53 alien species met to decide the fate of the galaxy. Ambassador Day stood in the waiting room, looking out at the planet below. His reflection in the glass showed a tired man in his 50s, wearing Earth's finest diplomatic uniform. "Nervous, Commander?" he asked. She was head of security for the delegation, a woman who had seen combat on 3 different worlds. Her hand rested near her sidearm, though weapons were forbidden in the council chambers. "No," Day lied. "Just thinking." Officer Tay, their communications specialist, checked his equipment one more time. "All systems ready, Ambassador. We're broadcasting everything back to Earth on the encrypted channel." Day nodded. 3 years. 3 years of waiting, of meetings with minor officials, of being told to wait just a little longer. Today was supposed to be different. Today, humanity would finally get an answer about joining the Galactic Council. The doors opened with a soft hiss. A mechanical voice announced them in a language that hurt human ears. The translation device in Day's ear rendered it as, "The human delegation may enter." The council chamber was enormous. It was designed to make visitors feel small and unimportant. Day had read about this tactic in the briefing materials. The ceiling was so high it disappeared into darkness. The council members sat on platforms that rose above the floor, looking down at whoever stood in the center. Day walked forward with his head high. And Tay followed 3 steps behind. Counselor Vex of the Vrel Collective spoke first. The Vrel looked like giant insects, with multiple arms and eyes that glowed with an inner light. Vex's voice was cold and precise. "Ambassador Day, of Earth. Your species has requested full membership in the Galactic Council. We have reviewed your application." Ender, Day waited. The silence stretched for almost a minute. It was another tactic, meant to make him uncomfortable. "Your request is denied," Vex continued. "Humanity may continue to trade in the 17 approved systems. You may maintain your current colonial holdings, but full membership will not be granted for another 500 years. Your species must prove it has reached the proper level of civilization." Day felt anger rise in his chest, but he kept his face calm. "Counselor Vex, humanity has met every requirement in the membership charter. We have stable government across all our worlds. We have contributed to galactic trade and science. We have shown we can live in peace with other species. What more do you require?" A crystalline being that towered over the others spoke next. This was the representative of the Thornax Empire. Its voice sounded like breaking glass. "You have been spacefaring for only 2 centuries. The youngest current member of this council has been traveling the stars for 12,000 years. You are children playing with tools you barely understand." "Then teach us," Day said. "Isn't that the purpose of this council? To bring species together? To share knowledge?" "The purpose of this council," said a third voice, bubbling and wet, "is to maintain order. Your species is chaotic and violent. Your own history is filled with wars and destruction. You have not earned the right to stand as our equals." Day had prepared for this. He had studied every argument, every objection. He knew what they would say before they said it. But he had one thing they didn't expect. "Then allow me to offer something that might change your minds," Day said. He pulled out a small device and activated it. A hologram appeared in the center of the chamber, showing complex equations and energy patterns. "Humanity has developed a stable method of generating zero-point energy. The output is 10 times more efficient than current fusion technology. We're willing to share this with the Council as a gesture of good faith." The chamber fell completely silent. Day could see the Council members looking at each other, their various forms of communication passing between them. Zero-point energy was theoretical for most species. If humanity had actually solved it, they had just become very valuable or very dangerous. Counselor Vex's voice was different now, more careful. "This is unexpected. The Council must discuss this development. We will take a recess of 1 standard hour. Please wait in the designated area." Day bowed and turned to leave. As they walked back to the waiting room, Hai leaned close and whispered, "That got their attention. Maybe too much attention," Tay muttered. They waited in the small room for exactly 1 hour. Day spent the time reviewing his notes, preparing for the next round of discussion. He was confident now. The zero-point energy discovery would force them to take humanity seriously. They would have to negotiate. When the doors opened again, Counselor Vex was alone. "The Council has reached a decision. Please return to the chamber." Something felt wrong. Day couldn't explain it, but his instincts were screaming at him. He looked at He, who had gone very still, her soldier's senses alert. "Ambassador," she said quietly. "Maybe we should." "We have to go," Day said. "It's fine. This is what we came for." They entered the chamber again. This time, Day noticed that the viewing galleries were empty. Before, there had been observers from dozens of species. Now, there was no one. Counselor Vex spoke from his platform. "The Council has carefully considered your offer and your request for membership. Our decision is final. Humanity will be granted limited trading status in the approved systems. Your species will be restricted to your current 9 colonized worlds. No expansion will be permitted for 500 years. Furthermore, your zero-point energy technology must be submitted to the Council for proper evaluation and control. These terms are non-negotiable." "That's not a partnership," Day said. "That's a cage. It is what your species has earned," Vex replied. "This session is concluded. You may depart." Day felt the anger he had been controlling finally break free. "No, I will not accept this. Humanity came here in good faith. We offered friendship, cooperation, knowledge, and you treat us like criminals who need to be controlled. We deserve better than this." "What you deserve," Vex said, his voice now showing contempt, "is irrelevant. The Council has spoken. Guards, escort them to their ship." But no guards came. Instead, there was a high-pitched whine that Day's ears could barely detect. Hai grabbed his arm, her eyes wide. "Sir, that's a weapon charge. We need to move. Now." The last thing Ambassador Day saw was a brilliant flash of light. The energy pulse was perfectly calibrated, targeted, and instantaneous. One moment, 3 humans stood in the chamber. The next moment, there was only empty air and the faint smell of ozone. Far away, hidden in the asteroid belt at the edge of the system, Observer Na sat in her stealth ship and watched the whole thing through her instruments. Her hands were shaking as she activated the emergency transmitter. The message was short and encrypted. Protocol conditions met. Envoy eliminated. Initiating Directive 7. She didn't wait for a response. There wouldn't be one. Not yet. Earth was 6 weeks away at maximum speed. By the time her message arrived, the Galactic Council would have already released their official statement about the tragic malfunction that killed the human delegation. But Na knew the truth. And soon, Earth would know it too. And then the Council would learn what humanity really was. 3 weeks passed, and the Galactic Council heard nothing from Earth. No angry messages. No demands for an investigation. No threats or protests. Just silence. The communication channels that usually carried human merchant ships and diplomatic signals went dark. It was as if humanity had simply disappeared from the galaxy. In the Council chamber on Veritas Prime, Counselor Vex reviewed the reports with satisfaction. The human response is as expected. They are mourning their dead and realizing their place in the galactic order. Within a month, they will send new representatives, properly humble this time. "And if they don't?" asked the Thornax representative. "Then they will isolate themselves and fade into irrelevance," Vex replied. "Our intelligence reports they have perhaps 200 warships. Against the Council's 40,000 vessels, they are no threat. This matter is concluded. But on Earth, in a bunker 3 kilometers beneath the surface, the matter was just beginning. General Ho sat at the head of a long table in the command center. The room was filled with screens showing data from across human space. Around the table sat the most powerful people in humanity's military and intelligence networks. Admiral Su commanded the Space Force. Director Wu ran special operations. Dr. Hyun was the chief scientist for humanity's most secret projects. "Show it again," General Ho said quietly. The main screen lit up with footage from Observer Na's ship. They watched Ambassador Day speak about cooperation and friendship. They watched him offer humanity's greatest scientific achievement as a gift. They watched the Council's response. They watched 3 human beings, good people who believed in peace, vanish in a flash of light. The room was silent when the video ended. Day had 3 daughters, Admiral Su said. Her voice was tight with controlled emotion. "I served with Commander Hai during the Mars Rebellion. Officer Tay was engaged to be married next month." "I know," General Ho said. "I knew them all." He stood up slowly, an old soldier carrying the weight of too many wars. Recommendations? Admiral Su brought up 3 options on the screen. First option: diplomatic protest through neutral channels. "We demand an investigation and compensation. It's the safe choice, but it achieves nothing. The Council will ignore us, or offer meaningless apologies." She moved to the second option. Second: limited military response. "We hit Vrel collective holdings in border systems. Show them we won't accept this treatment. But this leads to a long war of attrition we'll probably lose." The third option filled the screen with a single word: annihilation. Third option, Admiral Su continued: full activation of the Annihilation Protocol. Total warfare against the Galactic Council infrastructure. The goal is not conquest or territory. The goal is complete dismantling of their authority. Director Wu spoke next. The protocol was designed for exactly this scenario. If our peaceful overtures were met with deadly force, we would respond with absolute force. We've been preparing for this possibility since first contact, 20 years ago. "Show them," General Ho ordered. Dr. Hyun stood and activated a new set of displays. "The Council counted our warships and thought they knew our strength. They were wrong. For 20 years, we've been building other things. They saw what we wanted them to see." The screens showed images from deep space. Massive structures that looked like mining stations were actually weapons platforms. Innocent-looking cargo ships were filled with self-replicating combat drones. Asteroids in the outer solar system had been hollowed out and turned into shipyards. "And then there's this," Dr. Hyun said. The final image showed ships unlike anything in the known galaxy. They were sleek, dark, and built with technology that looked almost alien. The Extinction Fleet. "We found ruins in the Kuiper Belt 15 years ago. Artifacts from a civilization older than the Council. We reverse-engineered their technology. These ships are faster, better armed, and use principles the Council has never encountered." "How many?" General Ho asked. 347 capital ships, 2,000 escorts, 5,000 drone carriers, and the weapons platforms I mentioned. It's not enough to match the Council's numbers, but we don't plan to fight their kind of war." Director Wu added his report. "Our intelligence network has identified every major Council facility. Command centers, shipyards, communication relays. We've mapped their leadership structure, and we've found their vulnerabilities. The Council has been at peace for so long, they've forgotten how to fight a real war." General Ho looked at each person in the room. These were people he trusted with humanity's survival. This isn't a decision to make lightly. The Annihilation Protocol means total war. Many of us won't survive it. Even if we win, the galaxy will be changed forever. But if we do nothing, we tell the universe that humanity can be killed without consequence, that we'll accept being treated as lesser beings. I need to know what each of you believes is right." Admiral Su spoke first. "I vote for activation. They killed our people during a peace mission. That cannot stand." Director Wu nodded. "Agreed. If we show weakness now, we'll be targets forever. Activate the protocol." Dr. Hyun was quiet for a moment, then said, "I became a scientist because I believed knowledge could bring species together. But I'm also human. And humans protect their own. I vote yes." One by one, every person in the room voted the same way. General Ho took a deep breath and picked up the communication device. "This is General Ho, authorization code Phoenix 77 Omega. I am activating the Annihilation Protocol as of this moment. All assets are now weapons-free. Target package. Galactic Council infrastructure. Rules of engagement. Total warfare. Civilian populations are to be avoided where possible. But Council authority must be completely destroyed." He paused, then added, "They wanted to see if humanity was civilized enough to join their club. Show them what humanity really is. Show them why we dominated every food chain on Earth before we ever left our world. Make them understand that we don't need to be the biggest or the oldest to be the most dangerous." Across human space, sleeper agents received their activation codes. Hidden weapons platforms powered up. The extinction fleet began moving from its hiding places in the dark between stars. Soldiers who had trained for years in secret were finally told what they were training for. In orbit around Titan, Captain Jin stood on the bridge of the stealth carrier Revenant. He was reading the orders that had just come through when his second officer approached. "Sir, the crew is assembled and waiting for your briefing." Jin looked out at the stars. He had lost his brother during first contact negotiations with another alien species 5 years ago. That species had laughed at human offers of trade and friendship. Jin had joined the extinction fleet the next day. He walked to the crew deck where 300 soldiers and pilots waited. They were the best humanity had. Enhanced with technology that pushed human limits. Trained in tactics that would horrify the civilized galaxy. Ready to do terrible things in the name of their species. "The mission is go," Jin said simply. "The Galactic Council killed Ambassador Day and his team during peace negotiations. Earth has activated the Annihilation Protocol. Our orders are to dismantle Council authority by any means necessary. This is not a conquest. This is not about territory. This is about making sure that no one ever murders a human envoy again and thinks they can get away with it." He looked at their faces, seeing determination and anger in equal measure. "All ships, this is Fleet Command. Mission is go. Target coordinates are being transmitted now. Remember your training. Remember why we're doing this. Make them remember why Earth's predators hunt in packs." The Revenant's engines came to life. And in the darkness of space, humanity's answer to the Galactic Council began to move. The war began not with a massive fleet battle, but with shadows moving in the dark. Across the galaxy, in dozens of systems, Council security officers reported the same thing. Their sensors were malfunctioning. Communication relays were going offline. Ships were disappearing without sending distress calls. It took 6 hours before the Council realized they weren't dealing with technical problems. They were under attack. On Veritas Prime, the same station where Ambassador Day had died, Lieutenant Huan led his team through the maintenance corridors. Reaper team consisted of 12 soldiers in black combat armor that bent light around them, making them nearly invisible. They moved in complete silence, their enhanced bodies requiring no vocal communication. Hand signals and neural implants kept them coordinated. The Council's security forces never knew what hit them. These guards were trained to watch sensors and respond to alarms. The concept of enemy soldiers actually boarding the station was ancient history to them. The last time anyone had fought deck-to-deck combat in Council space was 3,000 years ago. Lieutenant Huan disabled 2 guards with precise shots from his magnetic rifle. The weapons made no sound, and the guards simply collapsed. His team swept through the corridor, planting charges on key support structures and data nodes. Their mission wasn't to destroy the station, it was to send a message. They reached the Council chamber in 14 minutes. The room where Day had died was empty now, but Juan could see the scorch marks on the floor where the energy weapon had fired. He placed a message beacon in the exact center of the chamber and activated it. "Team, we're done here. Extract in 60 seconds. They vanished back into the maintenance corridors like ghosts. 30 seconds later, they were in their insertion craft. 60 seconds after that, they were clear of the station. Behind them, the message beacon activated. Every screen in the Council chamber lit up with the same holographic recording. It showed Ambassador Day's death in slow motion. From every angle. Then, a human woman appeared. It was Admiral Sue, wearing her full military uniform. "You murdered our envoy during a peace mission," she said. Her voice was calm, which somehow made it more terrifying. "You believed yourselves civilized, but you are simply old. Humanity is young, and we remember what you've forgotten. Civilization is not given. It's a choice. You've made your choice. Now witness ours." The recording ended. Counselor Vex, who had been watching from a secure bunker deep in the station, felt something he hadn't experienced in 200 years. Fear. At the same moment, across the galaxy, the extinction fleet was making its presence known. The Battle of the Thornax Gate would be studied for years to come, though few would survive it. Admiral Sue commanded from the dreadnought, Retribution. She had 80 ships against a Thornax defensive fleet of 600. The Thornax admiral, confident in his superior numbers, moved to engage in a standard battle formation. His ships formed a sphere, their crystalline hulls refracting light into beautiful patterns as they charged their energy weapons. "Admiral, they're forming a static defensive sphere," her tactical officer reported. "Good," Admiral Sue said. "Then they haven't adapted yet. All ships. Execute pattern. Predator 7. Drone screen Alpha. Weapons free." The human ships didn't advance in a line. They scattered, moving like a pack of wolves circling prey. Small drones launched from the carriers, thousands of them, creating a cloud between the two fleets. The Thornax opened fire with their energy beams, destroying hundreds of drones. But the drones were cheap and expendable. They served their purpose by making the Thornax waste ammunition and reveal their firing patterns. Then, the human ships struck. They didn't engage from long range where the Thornax energy weapons were strongest. They closed in fast, using the asteroid field for cover. The Thornax had chosen this position because the asteroids provided natural defenses, but human ships were smaller and more agile. They used the asteroids as shields and as weapons. Retribution fired its main railgun, a kinetic weapon that the Council considered primitive. The solid metal slug traveled at a significant fraction of light speed. It punched through the Thornax ship's energy shield designed to stop energy weapons and shattered the crystalline hull from the inside. One shot, one kill. Human missiles followed, but these weren't simple explosives. They released clouds of metallic particles, specifically engineered to infiltrate crystalline structures. The particles vibrated at frequencies that caused the Thornax ships to crack and splinter like glass hit by a hammer. Their shields are rotating to protect against kinetic impacts, the tactical officer reported. Then switch to pattern Gamma. Energy weapons, focused beams, target their drive systems. The battle lasted 4 hours. The Thornax fought bravely, but they were fighting a war they didn't understand. Their tactics assumed battles fought at extreme range with energy weapons. Human tactics came from millions of years of evolution as hunters. Distract, separate, surround, kill. Use every advantage. Fight dirty if necessary. When it was over, 600 Thornax ships were destroyed or disabled. Admiral Sue had lost 27 vessels. She allowed herself no celebration. This was just one node in the Council's network. There were hundreds more. In the Oceanus system, the Muridan Commonwealth fleet faced a different kind of nightmare. The Muridans were aquatic beings who filled their ships with water. Their vessels were essentially flying oceans. They considered themselves safe from boarding actions because no air-breathing species could fight effectively in their environment. They had never encountered human submarines. Captain Bach commanded the stealth sub-Serpent. His vessel and 5 others had infiltrated the Muridan fleet by disguising themselves as space debris. When they powered up inside the enemy formation, the Muridans had seconds to react. It wasn't enough. The Serpent attached itself to a Muridan flagship and began cutting through the hull with plasma torches. Once inside, Bach's team deployed a biological agent they called Choker. It was designed specifically to target Muridan breathing systems, causing the water around them to become unbreathable. The Muridan crew suffocated in their own ships. It was brutal and efficient. Within 2 hours, the Oceanus fleet was gone. The Vrel collective faced their own horror. The insectoid species relied on pheromone communication to coordinate their massive hive ships. Each ship carried millions of drones working in perfect harmony. Dr. Hyun's science team had spent years studying captured Vrel communication samples. They created a virus that disrupted the pheromone networks. Human stealth ships released the virus into the Vrel home system. Within hours, the hive ships descended into chaos. Millions of drones wandered aimlessly. Unable to receive or send instructions, the Vrel fleet tore itself apart from internal confusion. But the humans weren't just attacking military targets. Captain Young led the Cyber Warfare Division, and his mission was arguably more devastating than any battle. His team hacked into council networks and released terabytes of classified information, evidence of corruption, records of exploitation, files showing how the council had destroyed species who refused to submit, images of atrocities committed against younger civilizations. The data spread across the galaxy faster than any fleet could move. 17 species that were subjects of the council saw the truth about their rulers and began rebellions. The council wasn't just fighting humanity anymore. They were fighting internal collapse. On Vrel Prime, Counselor Vex sat in his bunker watching the reports flood in. Defeat after defeat. Entire fleets destroyed. Command stations compromised. Subject species in revolt. And through it all, the humans kept coming, relentless as a tide. His communication officer approached, his antennae trembling with fear. Counselor, we've received a transmission from our remaining fleet commanders. They're asking for reinforcements and new orders. Tell them to consolidate their forces, Vex ordered. We still outnumber the humans. We need to. Sir, there's more. The humans have broadcast another message to all council species. The screen showed Captain Jin standing on the bridge of the Revenant. Behind him, human soldiers prepared their weapons. Jin's face was hard and cold. To all members of the Galactic Council, Jin said, "You called us primitive. You said we weren't civilized enough to stand beside you. You were right about one thing. We are different from you. You forgot what it means to fight for survival. You forgot that civilization is built on the bones of those who came before. You forgot that peace is only possible when everyone chooses it. You chose murder instead. So now, we'll teach you what humanity learned over millions of years of evolution. We are persistence hunters. We don't stop. We don't quit. We will chase you to the end of the galaxy, if necessary. This war ends when the Council is gone, not before." Vex finally understood the truth. The humans weren't fighting for victory or territory or resources. They were fighting for annihilation. His annihilation. The Council's annihilation. Everything he had built over centuries was being torn apart by a species that had been in space for less than 200 years. "Send a message to all Council members," Vex said quietly. "Emergency session. We need to deploy the strategic arsenals. The forbidden weapons. Everything we have, sir. Those weapons have been sealed for 3,000 years. The cost? The cost of not using them is extinction," Vex interrupted. "Send the message. Now." The Galactic Council, wounded but not broken, finally showed why they had ruled the galaxy for 10,000 years. Fleet Admiral Kovacs of the Thornax Empire took supreme command of all Council forces. He was ancient by human standards, having commanded fleets when Earth's humans were still discovering fire. He reviewed the battles humanity had won and understood immediately what had happened. The Council had been fighting the wrong war. "They're not trying to conquer territory," Kovacs explained to the emergency council session. "They're executing a decapitation strike against our infrastructure. Every target they've hit has been a command center, a communication relay, or a strategic choke point. They're fighting like assassins, not soldiers." "Then how do we stop them?" Counselor Vex demanded. "We change tactics," Kovacs replied. "We stop defending fixed positions. We keep our fleets mobile and concentrated, and we force them to fight on our terms by targeting their civilian populations. If they want to protect their colonies, they'll have to meet us in open battle, where our numbers matter." It was a ruthless strategy, but the Council was desperate. Kovacs gathered 4,000 warships, the largest fleet ever assembled, and set course for New Sol. The human colony had 3 billion people and was the jewel of humanity's expansion efforts. If the Council could take it, they could force humanity to negotiate. Admiral Sue received the intelligence reports and knew immediately what Kovacs was planning. He's forcing our hand. If we don't defend New Sol, we lose our most important colony. If we do defend it, we fight the kind of battle where his numbers give him the advantage. General Ho's voice came through the secure channel from Earth. How many ships can you send? 600 at most. Everything else is committed to hitting Council targets. We'd be outnumbered almost 7-1. Can you win? Admiral Sue was quiet for a moment. No. But I can buy time. How long until the extinction array is ready? Well, 2,000 Bayan. Dr. Hyun says 72 hours. But Sue, if we deploy it at New Sol, the system will be uninhabitable afterward. The weapon tears holes in space itself. Then we evacuate after the battle. But we make the Council pay for every meter. Send me every ship you can spare. I'll hold them as long as possible. On New Sol, Governor Mi received the warning that a Council fleet was incoming. She immediately ordered a planetary defense mobilization. This was what humanity had prepared for. Every city became a fortress. Every citizen who could hold a weapon received one. New Sol had 3 billion people, and most of them were descendants of Earth's military families. They knew how to fight. We're not running, Mi announced to the planet. This is our home. The Council thinks they can take it from us because we're outnumbered. They're about to learn that humans don't calculate odds the same way they do. When Kovacs's fleet arrived at New Sol, they found Admiral Sue's 600 ships waiting in defensive formation around the planet. Kovacs opened a communication channel. Admiral Sue, I'm offering you terms. Surrender New Sol. Give us the zero-point energy technology. Submit to Council authority. In exchange, the war ends, and humanity is permitted to exist as a supervised species. Sue's response was broadcast on all channels, so every ship in both fleets could hear. Fleet Admiral Kovacs, I'm going to tell you something about humans. We spent 10,000 years fighting each other on one small planet. We built empires and watched them fall. We survived ice ages and plagues and disasters that should have ended our species. We learned that the only thing that matters is standing up when someone tries to make you kneel. Ambassador Day came to you in peace, offering friendship. You murdered him because you were afraid. Now you're here with 4,000 ships because you're still afraid. And you should be. She closed the channel and gave her orders. All ships, engage. Make every shot count. The Battle of New Sol was brutal. Kovacs's tactics were sound. He concentrated his forces and used his numerical advantage to surround the human fleet. Admiral Sue's ships fought with desperate courage, but the mathematics were unforgiving. For every Council ship destroyed, humanity lost 2. On the planet below, Governor Mi watched the battle through the defense network. Prepare ground defenses. They're going to break through. Lieutenant Un commanded the 4th Mechanized Division, stationed around New Sol's capital. Her soldiers were in powered armor that made them stronger and faster than any unaugmented being. They had weapons that could take down armored vehicles. And they had something else, the willingness to die rather than surrender. Governor, if they land troops, we can hold the cities for months. Every building is a fortress. Every street is a kill zone. We'll make them pay for every block. In orbit, Admiral Sue was down to 200 ships. Half her fleet was destroyed or disabled. But she had accomplished her mission. She'd bought time. And now the time was up. Admiral, massive energy signature detected at the edge of the system, her tactical officer shouted. The extinction array emerged from its hiding place behind New Sol's outer moon. It was a structure 3 kilometers across, built in secret over the past 2 years. Dr. Hyun had designed it based on the zero-point energy technology. But this wasn't a power source. It was a weapon that could tear reality itself. Kovacs saw it on his sensors and knew immediately what it was. All ships, emergency retreat, maximum speed, but it was too late. Dr. Hyun activated the array from a control station on Earth. Space around New Sol twisted and folded in ways that violated physics. A localized rift opened in the fabric of reality itself. 2,000 council ships, caught in the rift's gravity well, were pulled into a quantum collapse. They didn't explode. They simply ceased to exist, erased from reality as the rift closed. Kovacs's flagship barely escaped, its shields burning away from the dimensional stress. He watched in horror as half his fleet vanished in seconds. "Retreat! All remaining ships, retreat immediately!" The surviving council ships fled the system. Admiral Sue's remaining vessels were too damaged to pursue. She broadcast to all ships. "Stand down. Damage reports." We did it. But the victory came with a cost. The extinction array had burned out completely in the firing. Worse, its activation had destabilized 3 of New Sol's moons. The gravitational chaos would make the system dangerous within weeks. Governor Mi received the evacuation order. "All residents of New Sol, this is not a drill. We have won the battle, but we must evacuate the system. We have 2 weeks to get everyone off planet. Move to your assigned evacuation points. This is our home. But we will find a new one." On Earth, General Ho received the reports. The extinction array was gone. Their ultimate weapon expended. They had dealt a crushing blow to the Council. But the war was far from over. The Council still had thousands of ships. Human resources were stretched to the breaking point. Casualties were mounting. Director Wu entered the command center with new intelligence. "General, we found it. The Nexus." "Duid. The Council's hidden capital?" "Yes. It's located in a pocket dimension, accessible only through specific jump points. The entire Council leadership has retreated there. All the elder species, their governments, their archives, thousands of years of history, all in one place." General Ho studied the data. "Can we reach it?" "Barely. It would require a suicide mission through defensive layers that have never been breached. But if we can destroy the Nexus, the Council collapses completely. Without their leadership and historical legitimacy, the whole structure falls apart. How many ships would we need? Not many. Stealth is more important than firepower. But the team that goes in won't be coming back." General Ho thought about all the people who had died already. He thought about Day, murdered while seeking peace. He thought about the soldiers fighting across the galaxy. He thought about what humanity had become in this war. Find volunteers. Make it clear this is a one-way mission. But tell them if it succeeds, the war ends. The Council will be broken forever. Captain Jin was the first to volunteer. The crew of the Revenant followed him without hesitation. They had been fighting since the war began. They'd lost friends and homeworlds. They knew what this mission meant. Jin stood before his crew one last time before departure. "This is it. One final mission. We get into the Nexus, destroy their dimensional anchors, and the whole thing collapses. The Council leadership, their archives, everything they've built over 10,000 years gone. They started this war by killing one human. We're going to end it by killing their empire." Engineer Hay raised her hand. "Captain, what are our odds of survival?" Jin didn't lie to them. 0. We're not coming back. But our children will grow up in a galaxy where humans aren't second-class citizens, where no one will ever kill a human envoy and think they can get away with it. The crew voted unanimously to proceed. Admiral Sue gave them their final orders. "All ships, prepare for jump. This is the last battle. Make it count." The assault on the Nexus began with a diversion that would be remembered for generations. Admiral Sue took half of humanity's remaining fleet and attacked Council positions across 3 sectors simultaneously. She knew it was suicide. The Council had rallied its forces, and her ships were outnumbered 20-1. But she also knew that every Council ship chasing her was a ship not defending the Nexus. "All ships, engage at will," Sue ordered from the Bridge of Retribution. "We don't need to win. We just need to hold their attention for 6 hours. Make them work for it." Her fleet scattered across the sectors, forcing the Council to divide their forces to chase them down. It was a running battle with only one possible outcome. But Admiral Sue had never expected to survive this war. She had made peace with that months ago. While the galaxy's attention focused on Admiral Sue's desperate fight, Captain Jin and his strike force approached their real target. 20 stealth ships, including the Revenant, moved toward a star that looked ordinary on every scan. But Dr. Hyun had discovered the truth. This star's core contained a natural wormhole that emerged inside the Nexus's pocket dimension. The passage will kill any unshielded ship, Dr. Hyun had warned them. We've retrofitted your vessels with experimental shields, but they're untested at this scale. Some of you won't make it through. Jin looked at the star on his view screen. It was a yellow dwarf, unremarkable except for the fact that it would serve as the gateway to humanity's final strike. All ships, this is Jin. We're going in. Stay close to Revenant. If your shields fail, there won't be anything we can do for you. See you on the other side. The ships dove into the star. The heat was incredible. Even with the shields, the temperature inside the vessels climbed to dangerous levels. Jin watched his readouts as the shields flickered and strained. 2 ships behind him lost their shielding and were vaporized instantly. 3 more dropped out, their systems failing. But 15 ships made it through. They emerged from the wormhole into a place that shouldn't exist, a pocket of space folded away from normal reality. And there, hanging like a jewel in the darkness, was the Nexus. It was massive, a structure the size of a small moon. Towers and spires reached out in impossible geometries. The architecture was beautiful and ancient, built by species whose names were forgotten even by the Council. This was where the galaxy's rulers had hidden their most precious possessions, their leadership, their historical archives, their treasure vaults. 10 million years of civilization concentrated in one place. Defensive fleet detected, the tactical officer reported. 300 ships, all elder species designs. They're moving to intercept. Jin smiled grimly. 300 against 15. The Council still didn't understand. All ships, attack pattern Omega. We don't need to defeat them. We just need to get through them. Navigator Sung. Plot us a course to the Nexus surface. Ramming speed. The human ships didn't try to fight the defensive fleet. They dodged, weaved, and ran. 5 more ships were destroyed by Council fire, but 10 made it through and crashed directly into the Nexus's outer hull. The crashes were intentional. The ships had been loaded with cutting equipment and explosives specifically for this purpose. Lieutenant Un led the ground teams into the Nexus through the breaches. Her soldiers moved through corridors that changed geometry as they walked, past defense systems that warped reality itself. The Nexus was designed to be impossible to invade, but the designers had never imagined anyone crazy enough to try. They fought through automated defenses and elite guards. The combat was vicious and close quarters. Un lost half her team in the first hour, but they pushed forward because stopping meant failure, and failure meant humanity would lose everything. The anchor chamber was at the heart of the Nexus. It contained the dimensional generators that kept this pocket universe stable. Destroy them, and the entire structure would collapse back into normal space, which would tear it apart in the process. Counselor Vex was there, waiting. He had known the humans would come for this place. He stood in his battle armor, a relic from wars fought before humanity had discovered fire. Lieutenant, this is madness. If you destroy the anchors, you'll kill everyone here, including yourselves. Thousands of beings will die. Millions of years of knowledge will be lost. For what? Revenge? Un looked at him through her helmet visor. No. Justice. You killed our ambassador during a peace mission. You thought we were too weak to matter. You were wrong. This isn't about revenge. This is about making sure you never do to another species what you did to us. We can negotiate. The Council can change. We can. You had your chance to change. Un interrupted. Ambassador Day offered you peace. You chose murder. Now you get annihilation. She activated the charges. The dimensional anchors exploded in sequence, each one sending shockwaves through the pocket dimension. Vex tried to stop her, but Un's team held him back. The last thing the ancient counselor saw was a human soldier standing over the ruins of his civilization. Outside, Captain Jin watched from the Revenant as the Nexus began to collapse. The pocket dimension was tearing itself apart. Chunks of the structure were already breaking away and dissolving into nothingness. He opened the fleet channel. All ships. Emergency jump. Primary coordinates. Leave no one behind if they're already clear. But the dimensional collapse was accelerating faster than predicted. The wormhole was destabilizing. Jin watched his escape window shrink second by second. Half his remaining ships made it through. The others, including the Revenant, were caught in the collapse. Navigator Sung looked at Jin. "Captain, we're not going to make it." Jin nodded. He'd known this was possible from the start. "Send a message to Admiral Su. Tell her mission accomplished. The Nexus is gone. The last thing the sensors showed was the complete destruction of the pocket dimension. The Nexus. The Council's leadership. Thousands of years of archives and treasures, all of it collapsed into nothing. The greatest center of galactic civilization for 10,000 years ceased to exist in less than a minute. 6 months later, the galaxy was unrecognizable. The Galactic Council was gone, its leadership dead, its fleets scattered. Of the 53 member species, 17 had declared independence immediately. 23 had joined a new coalition led by humanity and based on principles of equality and mutual respect. The remaining species had withdrawn into isolation, nursing their wounds and their pride. On Earth, General Ho stood down from command. The Annihilation Protocol was deactivated. The terrible weapons humanity had built were dismantled or hidden away, hopefully never to be used again. Admiral Su had survived the war, barely, and was now working with the new coalition to establish genuine peace. A memorial was built in Geneva for all those who had died. At its center was a statue of Ambassador Day, his hand extended in friendship. Around the base were the names of everyone killed in the war, human and alien alike. Governor Mi spoke at the dedication ceremony before a crowd of millions. "We didn't want this war," she said. Ambassador Day went to the council seeking friendship and cooperation. They answered with murder. We responded with annihilation. Let this memorial remind us of what humanity truly is, a species that extends its hand in friendship first, but will bare its teeth when that hand is cut off. We hope we never have to bare our teeth again, but we will, if we must. 6 months after the memorial dedication, a new human delegation prepared to depart Earth. Observer Na, who had survived the original massacre and whose warning had started the war, now led the diplomatic mission to the newly independent species. This time, human warships escorted her not as conquerors, but as protectors. As her ship prepared to leave, Na looked back at Earth through the viewport. It was a beautiful blue marble in the darkness, the home of a species that had proven itself capable of both great kindness and terrible violence. The galaxy would never see humanity the same way again. On Veritas Prime, now abandoned and silent, a single monument stood where the council chambers had been. It was placed there by human engineers as a message to anyone who might visit. The plaque bore one sentence in 53 languages. The same languages that had once filled the council chambers with debate and decree. The inscription read simply, "They killed one human in the name of peace. Humanity killed an empire in the name of justice." The war had cost billions of lives and reshaped galactic civilization. But it had also established a new truth that every species would remember. Humanity could be a friend or an enemy. The choice was entirely up to those who met them. Choose friendship, and you would find humans loyal and generous. Choose violence, and you would learn why Earth's apex predators had dominated their planet for millions of years before ever reaching for the stars. In the deep archives on Earth, General Ho recorded one final message for future generations. "We activated the Annihilation Protocol because we had no choice. They tried to make us kneel, and we refused. I hope those who come after us never have to make the choices we made. But if they do, I hope they remember this. Being civilized doesn't mean being weak. Peace is always the first choice, but it's not the only choice. Stand tall, offer your hand, and hope others take it, but never, ever forget that underneath civilization, we're still the species that learned to survive by being the most dangerous thing on our world. That doesn't go away just because we reach the stars. It's who we are. Accept it, control it, and use it only when you must. But never doubt that it's there when you need it. The recording ended. The war was over. Humanity had survived, and the galaxy would never forget what happened when someone mistook human kindness for human weakness.